Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and let me first of all echo previous speakers by extending a sincere note of gratitude to our generous host from the Kingdom of Morocco, in particular from the Penitentiary and Reinsertion Administration. It's a great pleasure to be here. Due to the lack of time, I will slightly adjust my presentation and will limit myself to presenting and sharing with you a recent tool that UNODC has finalized in the field of prison staff training, which I understood was a major focus of this particular session, namely a scenario-based e-learning course for prison officers on the UN Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners. We already heard about this extremely important normative standard at global level adopted by the General Assembly back in 2015 with the privilege of being named after a great icon of Africa, namely Nelson Mandela. Comment est-ce que je... voilà. As a custodian of the Nelson Mandela Rules, UNODC has invested quite heavily since 2015 into developing practical guidance and visibility material on the rules, ranging from instructional placards that you can see here on the slide to a comprehensive checklist for prison administrations on assessing compliance with the Nelson Mandela Rules. But this being said, what we thought was still missing was practical advice for prison officers on how to actually apply the Nelson Mandela Rules in the course of their daily work. And this acknowledgement really led us to embarking upon a 1.5 years process to develop an e-learning course for prison officers, which I'm going to briefly present today. Just a couple of words about the sort of parameters that guided us during the development process of this course. First of all, we wanted to live up to the challenge of translating rules into practical guidance to really concretize the meaning of the provisions in the Nelson Mandela Rules and to showcase how they can be applied. Secondly, what we wanted to do was to develop a tool that is targeted to prison practitioners, again in full acknowledgement of the fact that it is on the ownership of prison officials that the realization of the Nelson Mandela Rules actually depends to a large degree. Thirdly, we wanted to go beyond traditional e-learning. I don't know how many of you have done e-learning courses. I'm sure many. Many of these are extremely boring, in my view, sometimes. So we wanted to go beyond what I call traditional e-learning to develop something that was much more capturing, engaging, and interactive. Finally, we worked hard, as you will see, to render this course globally applicable by really capturing practices and insights from all continents. So all these considerations that I just outlined led us to opt for a scenario-based e-learning course, which actually couples theoretical learning on the one hand with concrete situations of prison management, which we were generously allowed to film in selected prisons in Algeria, Argentina, and Switzerland. This approach also resulted in us reaching out to more than 20 further prison administrations from all continents, as well as other relevant international organizations who supported us by providing prison-related imagery, substantive advice, and feedback. So with that said, let's go and have a look into how the course actually looks like. So in terms of structure, and besides an introduction in the beginning and a final assessment, obviously, at the end of the course consists of 5 thematic modules lasting up to 4 hours overall. So the module you see on the slide here obviously addresses prison conditions. So this covers the material aspects of imprisonment with regards to prisoners' allocation, accommodation, basic services which any prison service needs to provide, etc. The next module on the prison regime, looks into management practices that need to be in place to establish a decent and constructive prison environment, including different categories of prison-based rehabilitation programs and services to prepare prisoners for the eventual social reintegrations, but also issues related to risks and needs assessments. The next and third module talks about prison safety and security. Obviously, this is all about the need and how to maintain a safe and secure prison environment. We also single out here certain security procedures which require particular attention, and there is guidance on how respond to conflict as well as to disciplinary offenses that may be committed by prisoners. The next one on healthcare obviously provides guidance about physical and mental health services in prisons, the role and responsibilities of healthcare professionals in prisons, as well as the role of prison officers when it comes to supporting prison health. Finally, last but not least, in a final module, we look into the crucial topic of safeguards, meaning concrete mechanisms that need to be in place to ensure the integrity, the legitimacy, and also the accountability of prison management and to respect the fundamental rights of prisoners. So here we talk about requests and complaints, we talk about access of prisoners to legal aid, external oversight mechanisms, etc. As you will see in these red circles, each substantive module consists of one part which is learning about the rules. So this is a theoretical introduction, familiarizing the user on what the Nelson Mandela rules have to say about a certain topic. And in a second part, in the second red circle, we have a part on putting the rules into practice. I will skip the next two slides due to a lack of time, which is about the theoretical modules. As you can see here, we have actually prison officers saying and justifying why this topic is important to them. And the theoretical modules always conclude with a crucial question of what can I do? What can I do as a prison officer to actually give meaning to these provisions in the Nelson Mandela rules? But when we come to the practical part, putting the rules into practice, here we expose the user to 5 scenarios in each module in which they are confronted with interactive videos in which they need to choose amongst several options on how to respond to a certain situation. And as you can see, these scenarios may range from how to, as on this slide, how to react to a conflict between two prisoners which is going out of hand and requires the intervention of prison officers. It can be a visitor that comes to see her husband in a prison for the first time, but who all of a sudden becomes agitated and refuses to be searched. It can be an officer raising concerns about a prisoner from another country who seems increasingly troubled and withdrawn. How would you react to that situation? It can be a troubled prisoner who is approaching an officer with a sealed complaint letter. So again, how is the officer expected to react to that? It can be a medical emergency arising in prison which requires a transfer of a high-risk prisoner to an outside hospital. Or finally, just to give you a last example, a prison director who receives a visit of an internal inspection body just shortly after a prison riot was brought back under control. So I just want to give you these type of examples to show you how the course actually looks like. You see that these are very concrete but rarely black and white scenarios. It's not always straightforward on how to identify the right way to proceed and to react. There's pros and cons to all options. So if you want, what we tried to do was to really put the Nelson Mandela rules to a reality check, to identify scenarios which are likely to arise in many prison systems and to stimulate discussion and thought on how to react to these scenarios. You see that we filmed with both male and female officers, and it was encouraging to see that they were very enthusiastic in taking part in this exercise, which I think also speaks in favor of scenario-based training at large. So my concluding remarks, as I'm being told that I'm running out of time, just some last words about our follow-up to the completion of the course. The course is available in English, French, Spanish, Arabic, and Russian. It's currently being translated into further languages because of the positive feedback that we have received from various prison administrations. We're about to initiate a big outreach campaign to prison staff training academies, in particular in order to encourage them to institutionalize this 4 hours course into their regular training of prisoners, prison staff, obviously. Finally, I'm also pleased to report that in the course of the annual conference of the International Corrections and Prisons Association in Argentina last year in October, UNODC was privileged to receive an Excellence Award in the category of prison staff training for this very course. And we very much hope that we will be able to see a lot of more prison officers that you can see on this slide with the certificate that you receive upon completion. So far, over 14,000 prison personnel have already taken the course, and we would very much like to encourage you, and this is a great opportunity for us here, to inform you of the availability of this course and promote its actual use in your administrations as well. Shukran jazilan, thank you very much.
Thank you, merci.